It's an opportunity for Christians to reflect on, what do we think the purpose of prayer is?
Yeah.
Is it to exert our will onto God and make him do what we want?
Or be the God we want him to be.
Right.
I will spend $5 on a latte because it makes me feel good. Is that different than spending $5 on a parlay that might hit that makes me feel good? Those are questions to talk with your teens about.
Do you think a place like the Grammys is a good moment to bring up personal things like your political beliefs, or do you think it should be strictly about music?
And so it's this addictive thing, and your phone is also an addictive thing, and then you combine the two together so it knows when you're at your most vulnerable and hits you then.
For all we just said a minute ago about like moderation and whatever, that sounds like the devil. The Grammys offered a chaotic celebration of modern music. Etsy witches are getting kicked off of Etsy. And sports betting looms large over Super Bowl 60 this Sunday. Welcome to the Roundtable. I'm Evan Barber, and I'm here today with CJ Fant and Irene Tucker. How's everybody doing?
Just dandy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
My hands are still cold.
There's a flame right in front of you, so I would encourage you to reach forth, my dude.
Not that warm.
Fire. It's not that warm.
Fire, not that
CJ.
warm. This week's song of the week is the song Aperture by Harry Styles. Harry Styles' single, Aperture, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And it is a house-inspired song. Electronic music, beats, bit different from his normal pop rock vibe. Although I feel like some of Harry's house was kind of already going in this direction. Fans are divided on their opinions of this song. How about you guys? Would you say that you are fans and or divided on this song? We're starting off strong today.
Great question.
I've never been a fan of Harry Styles.
Really?
Like, I just can't. I can listen to him, but I just can't like get into him. I don't get obsessed with his songs. I don't they don't stick out to me, and they're not terrible. Like, I just kind of feel pretty neutral about Harry Styles in general.
So let me ask you this question
Which is
then.
the worst thing to feel about someone. That's so mean.
Yeah, the Lord says either be hot or cold. Don't be neutral.
It's
don't
like
be lukewarm.
I don't even think about you.
Why would you say?
So sorry, Harry. I feel like he's going to be greatly impacted by my opinion.
For as much as
we know he's a big fan of this podcast. So
for as much as I like really don't like Alex Warren, I think about him more than I should. You know, like.
I want to. Okay, so let me start with you on this then, Irene. Why do you think the song became immediately the number 1 song?
Because he hasn't put out music in so long,
but neither has a lot of people. So like
Michael W. Smith.
Yeah.
now if Michael W. Smith put out a new song, I would jam with that.
Yeah. So just the time gap, like that's it?
I feel like it's always like, I mean, like we've talked about a little while ago, Bruno Mars is coming out with an album that's like, he hasn't written music in 10 years, and
he has.
He hasn't come out with an album.
Silk Sonic was a Bruno Mars album, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. I think we're used to Taylor Swift cadences, right? Like it's every year
or so.
I mean, I feel like that's too much.
Yeah. So 3 years is a fine gap between making albums, in my opinion. I don't like this. It feels fine to me, but I guess some people that's not normal.
I mean, I would have guessed, if anything, it's just the star power factor of like, well, it's Harry Styles, so we have to care about it right now.
If Taylor Swift didn't release anything for 3 years, like you're saying, I think that people would rush to whatever she released, even if it was bad. And it would, because it's Taylor Swift and this is Harry Styles. He's like of equal caliber, I feel like, to some degree. And which is why his ticket prices are so insane.
I was going to say, I was actually going to say, you look at the ticket prices, then it seems like that's true. CJ, your thoughts on Harry Styles and on the song Aperture?
Yeah, I feel like I probably am more divided and a fan.
Divided in and amongst yourself?
I didn't really care that much about One Direction. Like, I knew their songs. Evan, you and I have bonded a lot over that cut up of that song where they just say you're insecure over and over again, which makes me laugh. That's what makes you beautiful, but it's all you're insecure. I was texting with our coworker Jenna when the song first came out, and she just texted me, what do you think of Aperture? And I didn't know what she was talking about. It was like, I was like, wait.
She was talking about photography.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh, the Harry Styles song. And it was interesting because I think both of us, when we were chatting about it initially, we both weren't sure. And I think Jenna is like, I think she said, it's my favorite song.
Her favorite song?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she just said favorite song.
That's just in as one person's favorite song.
Not just by Harry Styles, but favorite song.
Of all time. Like
I didn't respond to that. I'm not
Jenna,
sure.
I need you to answer for yourself.
I'm not sure. I will say I really liked Harry's House. I think that is like a perfect summer album. The joke I often make about Harry's House is that he listened to Wii Music and was like, what if I made this into an album? That's the vibes I get out of like the Wii Sports theme, you know? Like,
also a good dose of Take On Me by a-ha.
Yeah, right. It like feels like summer nights, right? And I think this is continuing that, but kind of in a different way, where I can kind of imagine what the album will sound like based on this, if it is a sort of, you know, prelude, or because it is the first song on the album, so that sets that tone. So I'm curious what and how his sound will shift from Harry's House. I love when artists try different sounds and new things, but sometimes I don't love the new sound that they bring, right? I like that they're trying something new, but I reserve the right to be like, it's not my favorite. Like, so that's kind of how I feel about it. I do like it. I think it is catchy, but at the same time, it's like when we were talking about this before, I was like, I don't remember what the song sounds like. Like it kind of just sits in the back of your brain instead of at the front of your brain. Maybe that is a helpful description, maybe not.
So it's not great and it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing technically wrong with it, right? I wouldn't say it is forgettable, but it is not something I'm thinking about a ton. You know, it didn't like wow me, it didn't grab me, you know, like. How
long has it been the top of the charts? Does anyone remember off the top of their head?
Well, it's been out for 3 weeks, so
3 weeks.
Yeah, I would guess it's probably. I mean, this is the period of time where we're getting music again. I feel like I've talked about, we've been kind of in a desert with pop music and popular music
because of Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas, I think December, honestly, yeah. I think a little bit in November, but December as well. And so Bruno Mars releases a song, then Harry Styles releases a song, then Noah Kahan releases a song. And so we've had releases kind of back to back to back. So
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The song is called Aperture by Harry Styles. Now you have a little more context for what's been going on. All right, first thing from the top three. This year's Grammys included political statements, emotional performances, and more than a few moments of live TV chaos. In other words, it's kind of like the Grammys every year. Irene, what stood out to you about the award show this year?
I actually thought it had a little bit of a different tune this year than it has. It is the first time I've enjoyed the Grammys in a while. I feel like I've watched Grammys over the past few years, and it just has kind of been like, meh, it was fine. This one was silly, like it was silly and fun, and I think a lot of it has to do with Trevor Noah. He's a great host.
It's hard to wrangle the chaos of a situation like that. You got to be smooth. You got to be.
Yeah, he can just take any. He's kind of like you. Like he can take anything and it just rolls. He can just roll with it.
When I see Trevor Noah, I think that's like Evan.
He's got that charisma. Evan, you have the same kind of charisma.
Wow, thank you. I'm just so honored.
But yeah, it was a little chaotic. There were moments like Cher forgetting to talk about the nominees or like announce the nominees. She just walks off the stage.
Yeah.
And then a crew member is like seen like, go back. And then Trevor Noah has to call her back up and he's like, hey, do you want to announce the nominees? And she was it's like Cher, who won like a Lifetime Achievement Grammy. And she was so uncomfortable on the stage. So it was like, you just kind of saw a little bit of her humanity.
Right. And then she names the wrong.
And then she names Luther Vandross, who passed away in, was it 2005?
2005. Gave him an award.
So his team actually went on to X or whatever, and they posted like Cher announcing it, and then they posted him doing an acceptance speech, and they stitched it together, and it was like they were like from the grave. So I thought it was funny
because the song was record of the year was Luther by Kendrick Lamar.
And I believe there was a part of the song that was
they sampled.
They sampled it. So that was fun. Justin Bieber did this performance where he was like, it was super stripped down in every way, like just the guitar, no like light, like huge production value, and he was in boxers and socks, which is like what?
I wonder whose idea that was. That's what
I mean, probably Justin Bieber's.
You think it was his idea?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, CJ? You think it was probably Justin Bieber's idea?
I don't know.
It was actually like really well done.
Yeah,
like,
it's
beautiful.
What was
his vocals in the song, not the boxers and socks.
It was really well done. That is actually maybe the standout moment to me in terms of a performance. Like, I think a lot of people have called out like Cat's Eye for their kind of moment. It was like a little messy, but it's interesting because it goes along with some of the, I think what we're seeing in trends in music where there's like people appreciate a stripped back, like more human feeling performance, and that felt very human.
Yeah.
Even if it is a little weird that he doesn't have a shirt on, but like I think he's trying to communicate something about what he wants his music to be and the way that he wants to make his music, because the album swag was that. It was very stripped back. It was very like, it was meant to be very grounded and not even like an Aperture by Harry Styles. It's very produced and, there's a lot of production behind doing bedroom music, but
And then you had like Sabrina Carpenter, who had like an entire airport on stage with conveyor belts and I think a live dove.
A live dove.
I still don't really understand the meaning with the dove and why it was there.
You think it's peace?
No, I don't know.
That is the traditional meaning of a dove.
So that was fun. And then there were a lot of artists that made like took the time to make some political statements, use their platform to, talk about Ice Out. And I think teenagers watching that, I think that lands with them because those are their, idols. But like in some ways, like if Billie Eilish says something, that's going to land with your teen,
If you like Billie Eilish, you're going to care what she thinks, probably.
Exactly, right.
Do you guys think Ice got scared when they saw those pens? Do you think they were like, oh no?
Probably not.
Celebrities
doesn't
like
appear
us.
that would be very effective. No.
You don't think so?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. No.
If you guys were to explain, like, what do you think the Grammys as like an enduring cultural institution, cultural tradition says about our world as a whole? I mean, does anything come to your mind on that front? Like, I think about, we really care about music. We really want to try to celebrate what is culturally significant. We want to try to pay attention to it and rank things. We want to, people want to make political statements in the course of their celebration. I don't know. I mean, is there anything big picture wise you think the Grammy says about
would you say
our world?
Would you say like as opposed to other award shows? Like when it comes to music specifically? Because you could ask this question about any award show, and I think
that's fair.
Like the way I would think about it is like the Grammys are different than the Oscars. I think it's interesting in my brain. Irene might have different opinions about this. I feel like people in Hollywood are much more self-important. They like think of themselves as more important than musicians. That's maybe not true all the time. I also think it's interesting, like just processing through it of like, okay, the Grammys are like often, like you said, people use their platform, but it's interesting because all of these artists have platforms.
But I mean, it's a moment where everyone is paying attention.
Absolutely. But like as a director, like you can make a movie about maybe immigration, or you can make a movie about what's happening in your home country. Like a lot of directors have done that in like places where it's illegal to film, right? Whereas like, is Sabrina Carpenter going to make music about immigration? Like it's interesting because like it feels like in that medium there is less space for that, even though music has been a traditionally like a resistance medium, like
Right.
like I think about a Bob Dylan or a Rage Against the Machine, or like.
Are you saying that there has been a trend on the whole of music becoming more, dare I say, shallow, or is that going too far?
Maybe more just like status quo. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm thinking out loud right now, so I don't have any formed opinions on this, but I do find it interesting that this isn't their biggest platform. Their music is their biggest platform. Like, yes, everyone watches all at once, and it makes the news when they get up and say something, whether it's, hey, you guys should follow Jesus, or hey, another thing, or whatever it is, right? Because some artists took the time to do that, like Jelly Roll, where he was like, I'm going to talk about Jesus while I'm accepting my Grammy, right? But it's not like more people watch the Grammys than listen to one of their songs. Like Sabrina Carpenter has multiple songs that have billions of listens on Spotify. Harry Styles does. Justin Bieber does. Like all of these artists have that, and Billie Eilish. And so it's interesting because like, I'm not making like a grand point here, but I just want to bring that up as like, they have a platform. They can talk about these things if they want to talk about them. Chappell Roan can talk about healthcare for other artists like she did last year. She could make a song about that. That doesn't sound like that interesting of a song, but like that's, I don't know if that's an actual answer to your question, but
yeah, I'm not really angling for anything in particular. I'm just kind of curious about, it's always interesting to me to take, this cultural thing that's going on, where does that fit in the larger cultural landscape? And what does this mean about this? And I don't know. I'm just trying to mine your brains to see if anything brilliant comes out of them for the edification of our listeners and viewers.
I mean, I feel like it's, like the Olympics, or like you're saying the Oscars, like it's a night of celebration. So there like inevitably is more attention brought into those moments. They're glammed up. So people are talking about multiple points of interest with whether it's Chappell Roan's song or her crazy dress, or, we're going to look at this artist from multiple ways that we aren't necessarily viewing them when we're just listening to a song. So I think when they get up there on those nights and everyone's paying attention, and these reels are going to circulate, and they say something that matters to them, maybe no. Does Billie Eilish want to write a song about ice? I doubt it, but maybe she will. But I do think she's going to use that moment to say something that is important, that she's recognizing as important, and have her followers maybe hear her in a way that's different on as if they were to like listen to their music. You know what I mean? So I think these nights are important moments, milestones, and they kind of cue us into their thoughts, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does seem, again, particularly if like someone's son or daughter really cares about one of these particular musicians, and then they make a speech making a particular point one way or another, it's worth understanding that, because these are the things that shape the worldview of the next generation very often.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's the only thing that shapes the worldview of the next generation, but it's part of it.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see like a full picture of kind of what is shaping the cultural landscape all at once. You know what I mean? Like all of these pieces coming together, and you get to view it like that was this year. And I think that's kind of cool to see like what all and who all and where are the patterns, and like was influencing ourselves and our teens. And it's kind of cool to see it all in one place. It's like a bird's eye view of 2026. And I think that is informative, So I always enjoy the award shows, but I found the Grammys particularly fun this year. Made me want to watch them again. I don't know. I don't really know what that was about, but I enjoyed the chaos.
What that was about. Listeners will probably already know, but Bad Bunny won the first Spanish album of the year ever for his album Debí Tirar Más Fotos, which is pretty crazy. Makes me want to get my Duolingo streak going again, because right now the owl is just is dead on my screen.
Fully dead.
It's very
It's
dead.
not guilt tripping you anymore. It's like fully gone.
Yeah, it's gone south with Duolingo for me. We'll be talking a little bit more about the Super Bowl here in a couple of items, but for now, Irene, Super Bowl, of course, because Bad Bunny's performing. Yeah, people get it. Irene, what's the way into this conversation? If someone wants to talk about the cultural moment of the Grammys, what's a question they could ask?
I think it would be a great way into asking your kids, do you think a place like the Grammys is a good moment to bring up personal things like your political beliefs, or do you think it should be strictly about music? And maybe that can be a doorway into conversations about what's going on in the world that are hard right now.
Okay. Yeah. This podcast is made possible because of our generous donor community, which is called The Table. Tables represent many wonderful things in our world. They stop gravity from pulling our food and drinks clattering down into the floor. Aslan died on a table for the sins of Narnia. Tables provide a place to break bread and converse with the ones we love. And now, The Table is helping us support more parents and caring adults through culture translation. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the link in the show notes. We want you to know that week in, week out, our goal is to be there for you, helping to research culture, helping to create conversation starters, having intentional conversations. So if this is helpful for you, we'd love to invite you to be a part of what we're doing, to subscribe, share with someone who could benefit, and let us know what you think. All right, next up, Etsy witches. Merchants who offer to cast love spells, curses, and perform other magical services for a fee on Etsy are being removed from the platform. The sale of anything that promises life change or significant alteration in life circumstances has been officially banned from Etsy since 2015. It has not been enforced. The ban has kind of just been said, and then very little appears to have happened until now. Now, this ban would also notably include things like selling prayer services, which I thought was interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. According to the Daily Dot, the popularity of Etsy witches has only grown since that initial supposed ban in 2015. But now the witches must get off of Etsy. They are being kicked out. This conversation kind of came to a head in September of last year. I don't know if you guys remember this. The writer of a since-deleted article from a publication called Jezebel claimed to have paid Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk 2 days before he was assassinated, even though the curses were only supposed to involve minor inconveniences, apparently. Things like acne and clothes suddenly being too small, etc. But since then, they've kind of been a little more of the cultural limelight. My question for you guys is this. What do you think would motivate someone to log into Etsy and try to pay a witch to do a spell for you?
I would think that they would have to be experiencing some psychological problems.
Okay. Tell me more. Like it's a reflection of you're just really not doing well. So at this point,
I mean, to choose to, even though we know, yes, the spiritual warfare does exist, those things are real. But we're also under the protection of God, whether or not you're a Christian. He has order in His universe, and to go on to Etsy and be so angry about something that you want to hex someone, definitely to me would say something about what's going on with you mentally, spiritually. Like there has to be something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I feel like that's just a horrible thing to do, whether it's to curse somebody to have acne. Like that's so petty and messed up. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Buddy?
Yeah. So you're saying like that's probably a reflection of you just need to get that sorted out.
Yeah, that's about you, man.
Now, to be clear, a lot of people would go to these services for things like love spells, for things like, hey, I want money. I'll pay you some money, and you can
Make
it's not all negative.
Yeah.
Spiritually as a Christian, I believe it is all negative ultimately.
Right.
I think the occult starts out with spiritual favors and ends in spiritual slavery. But what people are going for is not always to try to curse somebody, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, Evan, you and I have had this conversation multiple times, but it's something I've bounced around in my brain a little bit of like when, like in a story, like a lot of parents are nervous about like a Harry Potter, let's say. And I've often talked about like, okay, in a story, when is magic, like in a fictional, it's not based in reality. Like in a fictional story, when is magic? Like, how do we know if magic's like okay or like it's fine, it's not a big deal? And I often talk about like magic as the form of control, of like I have control. And it's interesting because we've been reading a book by a dude named Paul Kingsnorth, and he talks a little bit about his experience being in practicing Wicca and being a Wiccan, and talking a little bit about he's a Christian now, but talking a little bit about the desire for control there. And the ways that I think you might have talked to Sky Jitani about this a little bit as well. This idea of control is so important in those spaces,
right?
And yeah, I think it just comes down to that at the end of the day, and it's so interesting because it technically is antithetical to Christianity. I think oftentimes, and this is going to be a little bit of a spicy take, I think oftentimes people use prayer as a form of grabbing control.
Okay, that's exactly where I wanted to go in this conversation.
So if I pray for something, now I have some control over it, right?
Yep.
But really, Christianity is about giving up control to the ultimate holder of control.
Right.
Right? And saying, Lord, no matter what happens,
your kingdom come.
Yeah, exactly.
Your will be done.
And so I think the casting the spell stuff, hexes, even love potions, like there's a desire for control there that I think is very human.
It's human for sure.
And not like, I don't want to necessarily be like, wow, that's the worst thing you could do, because we all wrestle with this, and I think Christians wrestle with this just as much as non-Christians.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think you are right to take the conversation in that direction, because
that's the direction you wanted the conversation to go.
I think you're right, because it confirms what I think.
And now you have control.
And now I'm in control, ladies. But no, I mean I think it's an opportunity for Christians to reflect on, what do we think the purpose of prayer is?
Yeah.
Is it to exert our will onto God and make him do what we want?
Or be the God we want him to be.
Right. Exactly.
The God who agrees with my political opinions, and the God who agrees with my desire for my children or for my world or whatever it is,
So back in 2015, when Etsy originally issued this ban, their director of communications told the publication Vice that what's not allowed and never has been are services and promises of future outcomes, regardless of connection to any religion. A prayer that cures cancer would be just as prohibited as a spell that cures cancer. So just kind of reinforcing what the direction that we.
Do you think self-help books would be banned on Etsy? Because doesn't a self-help book, by definition, promise a different outcome?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry, that was my first thought when I read the language on that ban was, so if you're like, hey, how to win friends and influence people, I'm like, is that
you're promising winning friends?
And sorry, that is not related to the point you're making.
But it's kind of like, you go far enough, I mean, everything is kind of, get this piece of art. It'll make your room look
Just to be clear,
feel
a
better.
Self-help book, if you boil it down, is about control. If I buy a book that's like, how do I be more attractive to women? That is about controlling. That is about controlling the way that I am perceived. That's about controlling the way other people perceive me. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of what we do is wanting to grab hold of some sort of autonomy over things, is maybe the way to put it.
So then I want to get you in the conversation, Irene. Like, I mean, is it a spectrum? Because it's like, some things, we should try to control and influence and exercise a degree of dominion about our circumstances, right? But I mean, what would you say on this topic? Like, is it I think a matter of going too far?
Yeah, right. There's it's good for us to have some control, right? We have to control what we're eating to impact our health in a positive way. Like if we just eat Twinkies all day and expect us to be healthy, like you're releasing control and hoping, my body's going to stay in good shape if I eat all these Twinkies. But getting a self-help book that guides you in nutrition and you're taking control, that is not a bad thing.
To that point, I would like to insert the word stewardship into the conversation.
Yep.
Because there's a difference between I eat Twinkies and expect health versus but this is going to sound really brutal, that there is a difference between that and saying I work out every day so that I will always be healthy, because we actually can't control that second outcome. Because if I work out every day and then suddenly I get in a car accident and they have to sever my leg, I am less healthy, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point I cannot control that outcome, but I can steward what the Lord has given me, which I think is really valuable and a very important part of discipleship, right? Especially with young people, of like, how do you steward your time well? Which, and I think that's a good point, that's not all control in that way.
Yeah.
So given the temptation toward the desire to control, what do you guys think it looks like to talk to the next generation about surrender?
That's interesting. My son last night, he's 5. He's very, very short. He's the size of a 3-year-old. And he asked me last night, and he said, Mommy, if I pray to God to be tall when I grow up, will he give it to me? And I was like,
Whoa.
Oh, it was so precious. And I asked him, I was like, are you feeling insecure about being small? And he was like communicating that it has gotten in his way as of late. He's like a head and a half shorter than all of his peers.
Yeah. And so you didn't answer. You didn't decide to try to speak for God on that.
I talked to him about the desires of our heart, and that it was a very hard, difficult thing to answer, because I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can pray and talk to the Lord, but he's not a genie. I told him he's not going to give you your wishes, but you can talk to the Lord about what it means to you. So I think that he has no control over that. He can do nothing but communicate his heart to the Lord, even at 5 years old. You know what I mean? And it will have to be the will of God for him to grow tall. And if not, I pray that the Lord helps him understand why he needs to be a short guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like,
because what he's looking for is the contentment that would come in his mind from being tall, and that contentment can come through other ways.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the story of all of our prayer journeys for most of our lives,
Yeah.
I'm really struggling to remember the actual mantra, but the thing about the grace to give up what I can't control. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the serenity prayer. It's
thank you. I knew.
Lord, give me the courage to change what I can, the grace to accept what I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. Something to that effect.
Yeah. Which is I feel like that's what Atlas is maybe learning at 5, right? Like maybe he won't fully grasp it.
Right.
Because at some point there are things we cannot change, but there are things we can change. And I think the Lord does call us into being changed, right? And helping things and working in a way that brings his kingdom, and whether that means eating well or serving our neighbors, right? Those two things both can fall under that. But then there are things that we can't control at all. And how do you deal with that? Do you go to an Etsy witch, right? Because that's really what it's about, is I can't control this. And so I want to grab some control over it. And I do think sometimes we think of prayer that way. And I think, and I think I have thought of it that way at times. And I think everyone who is a little bit self-honest probably would say I have thought of God as a genie at some point in my walk in my faith, But I think it's I think it's good to be honest about that, especially as we're discipling teens, whether they're our own kids or in a youth group or whatever, but then also encouraging them to be honest with themselves about that and say, how do we impact the world in which we live? And how do we have the grace to say, I actually can't change this right now. And that's the Lord's, because so much of the Bible is justice is the Lord's. We talk about all of these social justice issues and all these sorts of things, but that doesn't save you. Caring about those things doesn't save you. The thing that saves you is Jesus. And what we see is that injustice will not go unpunished. Like we do believe that at the end of all days, but right now it might be a little confusing, So
yeah. I think conversation starter wise, something like, what do you think the difference is between prayer and practicing magic could be a good way to get into some of these, I think, really important discussions.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, final thing this week. While fans from New England and Seattle might be excited for their teams to potentially take home the Vince Lombardi Trophy at Super Bowl 60, LX, if you're into Latin, for many, the big game is a chance to make or lose some money. According to the American Gaming Association, an estimated $1.76 billion will be legally bet on the showdown between the Patriots and Seahawks on Sunday. Sports betting is now legal in 39 U.S. states, and for many, it's become a core part of their sports watching experience. CJ, in a culture where betting is now highly normalized, what does having intentional conversations about gambling look like with the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is worth asking the question, who benefits from gambling? Because I think as I've thought a little bit, I've thought about it a little bit as kind of, I've seen the shift happen in sports just in general. Like if you just watch a sport, it's used to be, and I've talked about this before, every other commercial during the ad break was a beer commercial. And now it's every other commercial is a sports book app, a sports betting app. And it's interesting because when you think about, okay, with legalizing gambling in the United States, who does that benefit? And I think even a teen would be able to understand the implication of that question. Obviously, it is a little bit of a leading question, but I think it is worth pulling out, hey, does this benefit individuals in society, or does this benefit a business, right? Because like all advertising, the design of it is to benefit a business, right? You might get a product that you really enjoy. You're like, I got the new iPhone and it's made my life better. That's highly debatable. I think if you ask Jonathan Haidt, he might say something different. But
yeah, right.
You get what I'm saying,
and you
right?
can't say that on Etsy because they'll...
But with sports betting, it's a little bit more complicated because, I might bet $5 and get 15 because, Drake May did something cool at the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, the people who really benefit are the casinos, right? And it's just like an interesting thing to talk about. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that either, but when I think about it, I'm like, it's hard for me to see how gambling really benefits us as individuals, but I can very clearly see how it benefits very rich casinos and people who, so that's kind of my maybe more cynical take on it. But
well, I guess it depends on whether you consider an adrenaline rush a benefit.
Yeah.
Or a potential adrenaline rush, right?
I mean, there's so many things we do in our life that is for those.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say, it's always a negative. Because even I have friends who will bet every now and then on a game, and it seems to be a fun thing for them. I don't get it. I think I think some people think of alcohol that way, where they're like, it tastes really bad. I don't have any reason to drink it. Like, why would I do that? I feel that way about gambling just in general. But I know some people they find it fun and it's enjoyable. And so a little bit of the write-up I did was me trying to understand that perspective of all of these people are doing this. What is the draw of betting $15 on, the Seahawks winning versus the Patriots or whatever it is? So
yeah,
I think it's fun to make predictions, I
think there's also the rush of like winning wealth hastily. You know what I mean? Like, or am I gonna maybe get $500?
What's that proverb that's like, wealth won hastily will immediately dwindle, and you will be miserable, or whatever.
Seems to be the case with a lot of lottery winners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And their outcomes.
Okay, so I grew up in a Southern Baptist context, and to hear the way that some people talked about gambling there, I would have thought that gambling was one of the main things that the Bible criticizes. And as I look through Scripture, I don't really see places where that is explicitly criticized.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, the casting of lots is spiritually directed.
Oh, right. I mean, yeah, you get into some of that stuff in the Old Testament. It's like, what do we do with that?
Read Saul's inauguration as king. Because there's this moment where they can't find Saul and they don't know who the next king is.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's cast some lots. And they're like, all right, it came down to the tribe of Benjamin.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, let's cast lots again. And they're like, oh, it comes down to the family of Kish.
Yeah.
And then like, all right, let's cast lots again. And they're like, it's Saul, the son of Kish. And you're like, so they were like rolling dice.
Yeah.
And
what do we do with that?
And the Lord directed the dice. Yeah, it's very complicated, right? There's parts of the Bible that way.
Because I could totally see someone reading through Scripture for the first time, getting to that and thinking, oh, I should just roll dice to make important decisions about my life.
Yeah. Well, and I do know.
Can you imagine?
Truthfully, I think I do. I think there are some churches who still use some sort of lot casting in kind of final decisions about elders or things like that. Yes.
Really?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't have necessarily an example, but I believe that is true. There are also
it's one of those moments where it's like, it seems technically
It's
biblical,
so-
but I just don't believe that that's like.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are in the Bible that we do not do. The Bible doesn't necessarily say it's, oh, you should do this. This is best practice. And I think it comes, actually, this is going to sound weird, but it comes back to the Etsy Witch conversation of control and stewardship, right? Because if you're saying, man, if my $20 parlay hits, I suddenly will have financial freedom, that might not be, that's like casting a spell. You're just paying $20 for it, right? And maybe it will come out. Like you want control, right? And then there's this question of stewardship over how do we steward our money? How do we steward the wealth that we have been given that I actually think in a Christian perspective doesn't belong to us to begin with, right? It belongs to the Lord. And so there's that sort of conversation. And so, yeah, I will spend $5 on a latte because it makes me feel good. Is that different than spending $5 on a parlay that might hit that makes me feel good? Those are questions to talk with your teens about, right?
So maybe the stewardship angle is the way into this thing. I wanted to ask, why would you guys say? And let's go to you, Irene. I'm trying to keep you at the table here.
Okay.
Lots of thoughts about sports. She went to a hockey game.
Yeah, now I know sports.
You've seen a sport. Why would you say that Christians have historically had such a strong reaction against gambling?
Against gambling. I mean, I think there's like so much evidence that points to how it impacts your mental well-being. I mean, like people that have addictions with gambling have higher rates of depression, suicide, etc. And so you're seeing like, like the Proverbs you were talking about from like 3,000 years ago saying like, hey, it's probably not great for you. And then 3,000 years later, we're seeing the evidence of that. It's not great for you. I think there's some proof and evidence to that. Now, do I think gambling every once in a while is a bad thing? No, I think like you're saying, it's fun. It's for entertainment. But I think as adults, we have a more developed prefrontal cortex where we know how to like put the brakes on at a certain point, or the hope is
theoretically, right?
The hope is that we do.
Theory.
But young people that they're not developed, like their prefrontal cortex is not developed in that way. Yeah. It's like that theory that teenagers are like a car that has a really strong gas pedal but like slow brakes. You know what I mean? So
or no brakes.
Or no brakes. Yeah. So for a teenager to, I guess, start to get curious and involve themselves in gambling, they could become addicted very quickly and very easily, whereas we may have a little bit more control the older we get to analyze whether or not, like, hey, is this becoming a problem? But regardless, I do think that, like you're saying, I don't really see where the benefit is when you're doing something like that. Every once in a while, I think maybe it's okay, but I think there should be some serious guardrails because it's something that if you do win, that dopamine hit or that rush of quick money. It's nice.
And so what I hear you saying is that there's the capacity that gambling has to really mess up someone's life.
Yeah.
And that if someone starts in at a younger age, it has a more serious potential to become
a problem,
a deeply rooted part of their, addictive process.
Right.
Way they think through life, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that really answered your question on why Christians are so against it, but I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does. I think it's, lives have been ruined by this. People have been plummeted into financial chaos. And I think that seems to me like why some Christians would look at it and be like, that just seems like a bad move.
Yeah.
I mean, people in general don't tend to be great with self-control and moderation.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is something that can easily become something that's hard to moderate. I think at least for some people, not for everyone, but
I mean,
for some folks.
It's kind of a funky thing, but like kind of by definition, you will lose. Like that is the thing about gambling, right? That's why these businesses can take out Super Bowl ads like it's nothing. Yeah. Because they're so wealthy. Because the truth is, if I put a $10 parlay in and I get $100 back and I'm like, heck yeah, we did it. I beat the system. That's actually reinforcing doing it again. And then eventually it's like, well, I bet that $100 away and I ended up losing it all anyway. And all that money, every time, especially on these sports betting apps, it's like every time I make a bet, they get a cut of it. So even if I win, they're still making money. And if I lose, they still make money. So it's even different than like fighting the house at an actual physical casino, right? And so in that way, it's just, like it always comes down to that for me a little bit of just, it's designed, gambling just really hits at the human psyche of like, well, next time, right? But also at the human psyche of the reinforcement of something good happening and then you going back to it. And even if a bunch of bad happens to you because that good happened to you once. Yeah. And
what's that called? It's the same technology with slot machine
it's like
with social
variable
media.
rewards.
Variable reward schedule. Right?
Yeah, and then even there's a YouTuber who used to be a Vine star and just talks about culture now. His name's Drew Gooden. His videos have swearing and I can't necessarily recommend them, but he did a whole video about specifically betting and gambling. And he basically detailed, and I still think about this all the time, he basically detailed how he downloaded some of the apps, used some of their promos that were like, we'll give you $10 if you bet $10. So it's you double your money, like $20 of betting or whatever. And he realized that now you jump into, it's different than a casino, right? Because now you're combining the social science of your phone with gambling. So basically what you're doing is the phones have algorithms that figure out when you're the most likely to pick up your phone and when you're the most likely to open their app. And they use that with gambling. And so basically what
I've never thought about all that together.
What these businesses have is a rough map of your mental state of, man, I'm feeling really low. Maybe I could win a little bit of money. And then it's like, ding, hey, BetMGM, want to make a bet? Right? And they realized that, hey, they didn't pick up the phone then. And again, these are smart systems that are also dumb. Like the systems aren't designed to do that specifically, but what happens is, say that you're having a great day. You're feeling great. Your phone rings. You're like, I don't care about, or you get a notification. You're like, I don't care about that. I'm engaged with, I'm talking with my wife. I'm really enjoying this. Yeah. So you don't pick it up. So they know, man, don't send it on Thursdays at 7 p.m. because Evan's busy, right? But then they're like, maybe Thursdays at noon. And then you do pick it up at noon. And that's when you're feeling so low and down. Yeah. And then suddenly what it turns into is it's an addictive thing. Gambling is addictive. Like that is just worth saying. It's addictive, right? And so it's this addictive thing, and your phone is also an addictive thing. And then you combine the two together so it knows when you're at your most vulnerable and hits you then. because that's how they make money. And
I
so
mean,
that's
like-
the question I asked. Just to be clear, when I asked the question, is this good for people?
Yeah.
Those are all the things I'm thinking about.
I mean, like,
So
for all we
fascinating.
just said a minute ago about, like, moderation and whatever, that sounds like the devil.
It is designed to get you out of your moderate state.
Yeah.
It is designed to circumvent your moderation.
Yeah.
Imagine if you are an alcoholic and your phone knows to say, hey, want to check out whiskey when you're at your lowest. That's what it's doing, right? That's like the worst
Dude,
thing you can imagine.
I know.
So, yeah.
Wow, man.
Two evil forces combined.
That's unbelievable.
Have either of you guys ever played the lottery?
Yeah, I have.
You have.
No.
Never? Never?
I really am like...
You've
this
never
is
done like a scratcher or anything like that?
I wouldn't say no if you like gave me one. But for the most part, it's like I just think it's so... I don't see any benefit in it.
So,
Yeah.
like,
I've
what-
never been to a casino. I've never gambled. I am as
You are
straight-laced
clean.
when it comes to that stuff as you can be.
Straight and narrow.
Okay, I've bought Overwatch loot boxes, which in Europe is gambling. So
Well,
maybe
There you have it.
it's
What?
a loot boxes in video games. Sorry.
You go ahead, Irene.
Well,
you were
I
building
just thought like this kind of made my brain blow up. What you're saying, CJ, is like when I was a kid, every once in a while you would go
Yeah.
with your mom and she'd fill out the little bubble letters and like pick some of your favorite numbers that mean something, and it would be like this thing that you do
Yeah.
every once in a while that was like maybe we get to go to Disneyland after
Yeah.
all, and that was kind of it. And so I've bought a lottery ticket every once in a while. But now, like, they make it really hard to figure. It would be like you watch the news on a certain night, Saturday, and then they would show the numbers, and that was kind of it. Now, like, you have to scan it. You have to download the app. And I did, now that you've said that, like, I noticed that when I bought a lottery ticket, I would keep getting texts that it would be like,
Oh, yeah,
hey,
of course.
Want to try
do
again?
you want to try again? Or, hey, whatever. And it's like, dang, that, like, they've really upped the ante,
Yeah.
so to speak, on...
That's good. It's a good pun. Here's my two thoughts. First, no, my only experience with lottery tickets is being annoyed that the person in front of me at the gas station bought a lottery ticket and now their checkout process is going to be 2 minutes longer. No, but my mom did the thing where she was like, okay, we're going to teach you all about gambling. Let's play blackjack. And she gives us all Skittles. And then we all lose our Skittles by the end of the night.
Oh.
And she's
Go,
like,
Mom.
and that's why we
and
don't.
she eats all of them
But
in front of you.
Yeah, but I also have friends who I know that their mom did that and they won all of the Skittles, and so it's
no.
it's
Kinda backfires.
It's risky. That's a risky way to teach your kids
Okay.
about betting and gambling and those sorts of
Interesting.
things.
We got to wrap this
Yeah.
up. CJ, if someone wants to start a conversation, what's a good question to ask about some of this stuff?
Yeah. First, great question. You know, what do you think the score line's going to be for the Super Bowl on Sunday? Just go with that. Like how Patriots or Seahawks? No.
Very, very good.
Seahawks.
Yeah, I think even that question that I started with, I think works. Of who do you think benefits from gambling in the United States? Or maybe like the proliferation. Obviously, maybe you might need a different word for a 15-year-old. I hope.
Depends on the 15-year-old.
I believe that
I'm going to try
15-year-olds
it and
know
film
what
it.
proliferation means. The proliferation of gambling. But even just asking that question, as gambling becomes more popular, who do you think benefits from that? I think is a very interesting question to ask.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for tuning into the Roundtable this week. On your way out, here's a quick survey of some of the rest of the cultural landscape. Number 1, She's Free is a TikTok trend where friends line up, clap, and shine phone flashlights as someone walks a celebratory runway after a breakup.
So funny.
Yeah, it's wild. Number 2, the 2026 Winter Olympics in the Italian cities of Milano and Cortina begin today. If the 2024 Summer Olympics were any indication, teens will probably be pretty fascinated by the athletes and their various social media personalities. Number 3, a new platform called Moltbook is designed to be a Reddit-style social media forum for AI bots to chat publicly with each other.
Who do you think that benefits?
I think it benefits us because now we can see what they're saying instead of them communicating secretly.
Evan, I think at one point you said social media isn't for us anymore. Like, it was something you said, and I feel like this is it's like, what if we just remove the humans out of this?
Right. Just let AI talk to itself. Number 4, people on TikTok are paying a lot of attention to the fact that the Lunar New Year is coming up soon, which brings a new Chinese zodiac. And 2026 is apparently the year of the fire horse. Don't really know what that means, but we're out here. Number 5, Iron Lung, a sci-fi horror film that stars YouTuber Markiplier, who also wrote, directed, and financed it, was a surprise box office success that almost beat Disney's Send Help in its opening weekend. We'll have links in the show notes if you want to explore these further. For now, goodbye from all of us. We'll see you back here next week.
Thanks so much for watching. This podcast is made possible because of our generous donor community, The Table. To help us support more parents and other caring adults through culture translation, we love to invite you to check out The Table by clicking right here. Also, if you've been impacted by what we do, would you consider letting us know with a like, comment, or a subscription, as well as sharing this episode with someone who you think it could benefit? Thanks for caring about having intentional conversations with the next generation.